Edgar, do you know Sophia? Alessandra asked to confirm something before she ran into the woman again.
The princess? Is that little brat here?
Edgar replied, looking around for the annoying little Princess Sophia. He was always on edge whenever the princess was near. It should have been impossible, but she was more irritating than her brother. Not the princess, Sophia West. Her husband is a part of the court, and she claims to have been intimate with you. He wasn't, Dominic answered for Edgar. None of us here have. The woman is beautiful, but there are popular tales of itching after a night with her. You can spot her husband by his constant itch in the groin area, Dominic replied, trying his best not to laugh. The man always bragged about his young wife, not knowing no one was jealous of him. I see. She was quite loud with her claims. I do not understand why she would lie like that, since it did not bother me. Do I have to leave now? Alessandra asked, changing the subject to something more substantial.
No,
Edgar said, not wanting to ruin the fun for her.
You can still enjoy your time here. Remain in sight of the palace guards at all times. I will return for you.
I can take her home, Emma offered. Edgar didn't take his eyes off Alessandra to see who offered a ride.
I will return for you,
he said louder, so everyone present would be clear that he was coming back for his wife.
Do not get into anyone's carriage, even if someone offers a royal carriage.
I know, Alessandra replied. With another body found, she would not leave the palace with anyone but Edgar. Even with the other girls, as it did not seem like they traveled with a guard, and she would not ride with the palace guard since anyone could be the culprit. I will stay by Hazel's side. You should be careful, Edgar. The town had been quiet for so long that everyone had forgotten they needed to be aware of their surroundings since this person was still out there. It was troubling to have been doing this for so long and have no one to give this person a clue. Edgar and the town guards were not up against an easy opponent. Never expected to see you here, Dominic said to Heather, who was trying to hide behind the group. Did Edgar's mother send you here to spy on the Duchess? Still trying to win his heart? Heather had hoped Dominic would not spot her, and if he did, that he would not speak to her. She saw him many times in her youth when Priscilla would invite her to be around Edgar, and Dominic would be there with his brother Daniel. I no longer do that. Haven't you heard? His mother made me an outcast, and my mother is upset with me. I don't care for Edgar's affection. Good, because you were never going to get it. What? Dominic shrugged when Heather looked at him. Boys talk, you know, and with Edgar, you never had to guess if he liked you. I'm sorry to hear about the outcast part, but I'm glad you're free of being by his mother's side. You weren't too bad to be around when she wasn't near. Thank you, I guess. Why are you in Lockwood? Heather asked, only now realizing how far away from home he was. Running from your mother again? She guessed. Yeah, Edgar's marriage is affecting his peers. Now everyone is pressured to get married and settle down. I'm moving into an estate not too far out of Lockwood. A gift from my grandmother. If you ever need to run away from your mother, my doors are open to you, said Dominic. To start a scandal? No, thank you. Heather denied it. As a Carson, Dominic had too many eyes on him. She was tired of the attention at this point in her life. Look where it led her. The bright side of all of this is I can now find someone I can love and who genuinely loves me back. I must do it before my mother tries to set me up with someone. Well, good luck with that. I am running away from my mother to get away from getting married. What a nice privilege. I will say that I might become so tired of this lifestyle that I will either return to Whitetown or take my inheritance and settle down somewhere small. I have been planning it out for the last couple of days, said Heather. The fast-paced life of high society no longer suited her. She had been by Priscilla's side since her youth, and met people she thought were her friends, but now that Priscilla no longer needed her, those people weren't around.
Yet again, my house is open to you if that is the path you want to take. I promise not to charge you too much rent,
Dominic joked, earning a chuckle from Heather.
Just ensure you aren't followed and a scandal won't happen. Edgar's leaving, so I have to leave, but it was nice seeing you.
You too. Heather waved goodbye. With Edgar, Dominic, and the guard gone, only Raphael remained. He was kind by offering Tobias some privacy and mentioning going to the border, but he honestly could not leave without getting information from him. He hoped the king and queen weren't going at it while an audience was outside.
Raphael Callahan, have we ever met?
Emma asked in a sweet tone. She couldn't help swooning over the sight of the famous knight. She wished her parents had set her up with Raphael, if not Oliver.
No,
Raphael bluntly replied. He took a step back to get away from her intense gaze. He didn't miss the ring on her finger. And though he was at odds with a specific person back home, she would have his head for being so close.
Why are you here in the palace? Have you come to deal with all the murders? It wouldn't be surprising since it would take someone like you to crack this case.
Emma complimented him.
You should remember your fiancé is leading the case behind the Duke. No wonder the two of you aren't close. You should be saving this compliment for Oliver,
Eleanor muttered. She couldn't understand what the hell Emma was doing. Raphael stepped away from Emma now that he knew who she was engaged to. He wasn't on good terms with her husband-to-be. Edgar had introduced him to Oliver in the past, and for no reason, Oliver had hated him.
I do compliment Oliver, but he does not respond to it. Raphael is a talented knight, so it is only fitting to compliment him too.
Emma rolled her eyes as she replied to Eleanor. Why did the queen even invite Eleanor to walk with her? Eleanor should be grateful for the invite and stay quiet.
I am not here for that case. I will be heading to the border to deal with the trouble there,
Raphael replied.
You'll be dealing with those barbarians,
Emma gasped. Alessandra looked at Emma, confused by who she was referring to as barbarians.
They are not barbarians, Duchess,
Eleanor answered, after seeing Alessandra's expression.
They are people who choose to be free and not have as many rules as we do. Only the close-minded call them that,
she said, looking right at Emma. Emma huffed, disliking how Eleanor kept picking at her.
Well, they are causing trouble, so they are barbarians. Right, Raphael?
Raphael had issues with a young lady from the border who came in and wrecked his life. Before that, he did not share the same opinion as those calling them barbarians.
They are not barbarians. I find people who use that name should check their hearts. It is normally quite hollow. Excuse me. Oh, what a day. I just can't.
Eleanor chuckled as she wiped a tear from her eye. The last thing she expected to hear was Raphael stating Emma had a hollow heart.
I am so happy I didn't miss today.
Emma grabbed a handful of her dress, embarrassed by Raphael's words. What was so wrong with what she said? Everyone else was referring to those people as barbarians, so she repeated it. Raphael was going there to kill them, so what was all of this about being hollow?
I don't want to be a part of this group anymore. Duchess, I will speak with you another day when there are no misfits around you,
Emma said, looking in Heather and Eleanor's direction before she walked away.
Finally. Initially, that girl seemed so sweet and innocent, but she was just a social follower. Should we stay here while the queen is alone with her husband? I feel like we might hear something we are not supposed to,
Eleanor said, hinting at the fact the queen and king could be working up a future prince right now.
We could walk further down, enough to see if she comes out,
Alessandra said, pointing down the hall. The other two women agreed, so they started to walk away from the door.
Eleanor, were you at the ball? I was, but I remained out of sight, so you might not have seen me. I left early since my companion for the night abandoned me. I still feel the need to strangle Bryce for leaving me and not giving me a heads up,
Eleanor said, pounding her fist into the palm of her hands. His solo departure gave the young women something to talk about.
Bryce?
Alessandra asked, feeling that the name was familiar, but she couldn't put a face to it.
My best friend. We always stick together during parties since we never have a date. He's my way of warding off curious men who want to court me. I have no interest in getting married. Quite frankly, I wouldn't mind becoming a spinster. I have more interest in writing books than spending my time looking for a husband, said Eleanor. You write books? Do you sell them in town, or is it something that you keep for yourself? I sell them in town under another name. I know no one would be interested if they knew the daughter of a brothel owner wrote the book. Honestly, Duchess, I am surprised, but not when it comes to you. You had the title of being cursed, but now that you are a Duchess, I didn't expect to be talking with you. It is normal for people who were once outcasts and were given a new opportunity not to hang around us,
Eleanor said, pointing at herself and Heather. It was refreshing to see that Alessandra had not jumped in to speak about her father's business and had welcomed Heather to their table. Eleanor could picture herself as a lifelong friend of Alessandra. This was surprising since she rarely had any female friends, as they would always claim to get tossed in the red light district if they became her friend.
It would be wrong of me to be once bullied and then join in on mocking someone else just because of my new status. I cannot find it in my heart to be that way. Besides, you are hilarious, Eleanor, and I admire your confidence when you stand up to others like Sophia.
That woman is... Alessandra trailed off, not knowing the right words.
Delusional? Too full of herself? She honestly did not sleep with your husband. She can openly lie since her reputation for falling into men's beds is quite strong. She is so full of herself that she thinks the princess was named after her. But if she paid attention in school, she would know Princess Sophia was named after a former queen. A bird brain, I tell you.
Eleanor shook her head. Alessandra chuckled, amused by how disappointed Eleanor was when it came to Sophia.
What about you, Heather? Do you have any hobbies?
Heather sighed and stopped walking. Now that it was just the three of them, she wanted to say what was on her mind.
Duchess, I owe you for offering me a place to sit, but I must ask, are you being nice to me in hopes of getting information about Priscilla? I've seen the whole nice to everyone act before, and I want to be certain I am not being fooled.
Alessandra wasn't the slightest bit offended by Heather's assumption. It was customary for Heather to think she would be used to go against Priscilla, no matter how anyone looked at it. Heather had no one to turn to, so it would be a prime opportunity for Alessandra to use her.
I have no intention of using you to get information about Priscilla. Edgar would offer it to me without me having to ask. I try not to think about her and don't even want to run into her. I am being nice to you because that is how I am, not because I want to use you,
said Alessandra.
Thank you. It is just hard to know what people are plotting. I no longer want to be used by anyone or forced to do anything. I have been doing it all my life because of my mother. I sincerely want to apologize again for showing up with his mother that day.
Heather apologized. She continued.
I cannot lie and say I didn't harbor any ill feelings for you when we met. I desperately wanted to be in your place to satisfy his mother. I am grown, but it was hard to go against her. Priscilla is scary, and you should be thinking about her.
Alessandra didn't want to tell Heather she was plotting to deal with Priscilla to stop her from meddling in her marriage. Tides could turn where Heather would be back in Priscilla's good graces. She was aware of what type of person Priscilla was since she was behind Jennifer's death. Alessandra began to walk again, but the force of something connecting to the side of her exposed face stopped her.
Duchess!
Heather exclaimed, concerned for Alessandra when blood started to trickle down her face. Eleanor panicked at seeing a stone on the floor next to the mask Alessandra was wearing a moment ago. She bent down to pick up the mask to cover Alessandra's face and deal with the wound. Eleanor looked in the direction the stone was thrown from and spotted a couple of women running away. She only saw the back of them, but it wouldn't be hard to point out who they were from their dresses. Idiots, she thought. If not for Alessandra bleeding, she would have chased after the women to repay what they had done. Then there was the mask that fell off, which she wanted to put back on quickly since Alessandra would not want anyone seeing her face. Eleanor saw what looked to be old cuts, but didn't think Alessandra required the mask. She was still quite pretty, and Eleanor was curious about the real story behind the mask. Why did no one question why a young girl had to hide her face? Alessandra stood still, trying to wait out the pain in her head. "We need to put some snow on it," said Eleanor. "I will get the queen," Heather said. She would say it was foolish of anyone to throw a stone at the Duchess while they were in the palace, but worse things had happened at parties she attended. Heather wasn't present for the entire gathering, but she didn't think there was a reason for anyone to throw a stone at Alessandra. She was curious about what was said in the room before she arrived. Heather left Alessandra and Eleanor's side. Going back to the room Hazel had walked in to speak with her husband. Heather was nervous to disrupt whatever was happening inside the room, but they needed the Queen and King. Heather knocked on the door and said as loud as she could, "Queen Hazel, you must come quickly. Someone threw a stone at the Duchess." Heather heard a muffled yell coming from the inside, but it didn't sound like Hazel. It sounded more like the... What? Tobias flung open the door. "Did you just say?" Heather stepped back, looking at the king in shock. His cheeks and neck bore the faint color of the paint Hazel had on her lips. Heather shook her head, wanting to stay on track. "I was walking with the Duchess, and out of nowhere a stone was thrown at her. Her head has a small bruise." "God fucking damn it," Tobias cursed, angered by the news. He thought he had misheard what was said at the door. No, he was hoping he had misheard it. "Is Edgar still in the palace?" he asked, closing the door behind him to give Hazel privacy to straighten herself. "He left a little while ago. Do you want me to check if—" "No," Tobias quickly replied. If Edgar were to return before they had the culprit, he would flip the palace upside down. Tobias already had a lot on his plate, so why did someone have to add this to it? Someone dug their grave today, and as king, there was hardly anything Tobias could do to save them. "Take me to the Duchess now," he ordered Heather. "Right away," Heather answered, leading the king to the Duchess. "Pardon me if this is rude, but should we not call her husband?" It didn't take long for Tobias to spot Alessandra leaning back against a wall, while another woman tended to her. "You've been around Edgar, so you already know the answer. Edgar doesn't take too well when anyone tries to harm the people he cares for. Now it is his wife who has already lived a hard life. The man is going to see red when he returns." "Duchess?" Tobias said once he was in front of Alessandra. Eleanor curtsied and stepped out of the way for the king to handle the matter. She considered taking this time to go find the woman she had spotted running away from the scene. "Are you all right, Alessandra?" Tobias asked, leaning down to get a better look at the wound. Had it been thrown lower, it would have hit her eye and caused serious damage.
"It stings a bit, and I have a headache,"
Alessandra replied. The ice Eleanor had wrapped in a cloth had been helpful. Tobias looked carefully at the small open wound. It didn't seem too deep, but it was swelling. They could save her from a scar if they took care of it now. "You there," Tobias stopped a passing-by maid. "Get the royal doctor and tell him to come to my private room right now."
"Yes, Your Highness."
"Did either of you see who did this?" Tobias asked Heather and Eleanor. They needed to move quickly in case the culprit would try to leave. Heather shook her head as she was more focused on Alessandra to look around for who threw it. "I did," Eleanor replied. "I saw a small group of women running away from the direction it was thrown. I didn't see their faces, but I can identify their dresses. One of them looked familiar." "Was it—" Eleanor paused to think. "Heather, take the Duchess inside my private room where the Queen is," Tobias said, then looked at the young woman he believed was Eleanor. He had seen her with her mother, who was known as the Madam in the red light district. "Come with me to identify the woman." Eleanor was pumped up, ready to call out the people who had done this. And if the king could turn his back for a moment, she had a good aim to make them feel what the Duchess was experiencing. It was amusing how they said she was not a lady because of her father's business, but then they went around throwing stones at someone. Eleanor led Tobias in the direction the women had run off in. Most likely, they were heading back to the room to get their things and leave. It would have been satisfying if Edgar was still in the palace, as heads were bound to roll. But Eleanor had a feeling that once he found out, there would still be chaos, even if the king were to deal with the culprit. Eleanor and Tobias received odd stares from the other young women who didn't have the slightest clue what was going on. Eleanor inspected their dresses as she passed by to make sure they weren't any of them. One person threw the stone, but the others around that person should have checked on the Duchess. "No way," Eleanor said the moment they entered the room. "I knew that dress was familiar. You were sitting right in front of me, Sophia. How I could forget who wore that tacky design is beyond me." Sophia bit her lip, panicking at the sight of the king. She was on her way out of the palace when she remembered her bag was still in the room. She figured she had time to collect it, as she had asked the maid to send notice she was ready for her carriage, which would take a moment to come from wherever it was parked. "What do you want from me, Eleanor?" she asked, choosing to play dumb about why the king might be here with Eleanor. "Don't play stupid. But then again, you are naturally stupid for throwing a stone at the Duchess." "It is her, Your Highness. I saw her running away with 3 young ladies," said Eleanor. "Me? Throwing a stone at the Duchess? You must think we are in the filthy red light district where everyone acts a fool. We are in the palace, dear Eleanor. No one goes around throwing stones, and I am not a fool to harm the Duchess," Sophia replied. In her opinion, Eleanor's words were not credible for anyone to believe a woman of Sophia's status would throw a stone. It would look like Eleanor was simply jealous and wanted to point fingers. "Julia!" Tobias called the woman dressed differently from the other maids. She was the one to ensure the women present at the gathering and all the servants were acting appropriately. "Tell the servants to bring all the ladies back into this room. Now!" he yelled, his voice sounding like thunder in the room. They were moving too slowly for his liking. "Yes, Your Highness." Julia bowed, confused by how angry Tobias was. "Gather the ladies," she ordered the maids in the room. Sophia's palms started to sweat. She was standing with her friends when she threw the stone, but separated from them afterward. She didn't trust that, if pressured by the king, they wouldn't admit it was her. Sophia had known these women for a couple of years and hung out with them frequently, but at this moment they would not lie for her. If the shoe were on the other foot, she would expose them right away to avoid being punished by the king. Eleanor found Sophia to be stupid for prolonging admitting it was her. It was possible that any of the other women could have been the culprit, but judging by how Sophia was the only one trying to run away, and looked like she would pass out at any moment, it was her. The king was not in a good mood as the wife of his friend was struck, so why drag this out? All the young women started to enter the room slowly, and right away Eleanor was able to spot the three others. These women not clashing in their dresses turned out to be a good thing. There were no dresses alike to say she had seen wrong. Now that you are all here, does anyone want to step forward and tell me who the fuck struck this Duchess, Alessandra Collins, with a stone? Show yourself while I am being nice. If you prolong this, I won't stop the Duke from having your head, said Tobias.